This week, the Reform Party have solidified themselves as being the absolute joke of a party. In questions to the government, both Richard Tice and Nigel Farage made themselves look like idiots. You can tell that their questions were aimed at the Twitter clickbait variety, where they chop up their question and make them sound as if it was a serious question or a gotcha moment that they can then spread across Twitter and send to their supporters, whilst chopping out the answers which, quite frankly, made them look like fools. Farage couldn't even be bothered to turn up to Parliament this week. He'd rather be having a hangover in America. And Lee Anderson had to make a very formal apology for his behaviour towards door staff, in which Rupert Lowe, his other Reform lackey, seems to think it's quite funny that someone trying to do their job gets a torrent of verbal abuse by a sitting MP. I get there's only 5 of them and they need to try and keep themselves looking relevant and asking questions, but they're not even trying to make themselves look like a serious party, and yet they still get more airtime on TV than the Lib Dems and the Greens put together.
Thank you. Foreign Secretary, it would appear that the potential judgment, next judgment of a spurious, rather political foreign court matters more than the issue of national sovereignty. But and you boast that President Biden likes this deal. Now, the Speaker earlier on said that this House should not be affected by elections that take place in foreign countries. But I wonder, how confident are you, if the 47th President of the USA becomes Donald Trump, that he will approve of this deal, given the importance of our relationship with America?
Yeah. Well, I'm grateful to the honourable gentleman for his question. Let me reassure him that we have sought to take views across the US political establishment. But I do say to him, to get a US president, a US Secretary of State for Foreign Affairs and Defence, applaud this agreement should reassure him that the US would do nothing that would help our enemies, particularly the Chinese, in this regard.
Is the Minister, the Secretary of State and the Chancellor aware that so serious are the consequences of this policy that the heads of farming families in their 80s and 90s are seriously considering committing suicide before this policy comes into place?
I don't need any after comments, Minister.
I find it hard to respond to a question like that. I spoke earlier about using language carefully, and I would just reiterate that point.
Sir Roger Gale.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Now then, Sam Wilson is a farmer in Ashfield. He's not a rich man. In fact, he's not drawn a wage in the past 4 years. So I want the Minister, Mr. Speaker, to look me in the eyes and tell me how many farmers he's spoken to over the past few months that actually agree with this harebrained scheme.
Yeah. Minister.
Well, the last farmer I spoke to over the weekend congratulated me on what we were doing.
Mr. Speaker, with permission, Mr. Speaker, I will make a personal statement in compliance with the findings of the Independent Expert Panel on its report. I accept the findings of the Independent Expert Panel and the Parliamentary Commissioner for Standards in full and without reservation. On the 23rd of November 2023, at the Derby Gate entrance, I was involved in an incident with a security guard. During the incident, I spoke to the complainant in a manner that was totally unacceptable and which included swearing and other language that goes against the House of Commons bullying and harassment policy. I would like to apologise to the complainant and to this House for my behaviour. Our security staff do an incredible job and should always be treated with the utmost of respect. The standards of an MP's behaviour must always be at the highest standard. I give you and this House my firm assurance that I have learned significant lessons through this process and a firm undertaking that such behaviour on my part will never happen again.
Nigel Farage tries to claim that he's going full membership with the party and that it's going to be completely democratic, and yet he gets called out by one of his own former leaders. And you can see him doing just that in the video that's on screen now. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit that like button, and I'll see you next time.